Hi there. In this video, we'll be covering how to leave a legacy for future generations. Legacies are so powerful and so impactful and so meaningful. I'm glad that you're thinking about this for yourself. I've had the honor of working with multiple families and sharing their stories in book form, and it's just so meaningful when we can think about the legacy that we pass on and the lessons that resonate from one generation to the next. By the end of this video, you'll learn the importance of documenting your family's story, the importance of passing your legacy onward, and why a book could be a great way to cement your legacy. And stay tuned until the end of the video for an opportunity I really think you're going to enjoy. Let's dive in. It's so special when we can build and craft and create and nurture a legacy. You know, a legacy is something that's built over time. This isn't something simple or basic about one moment in your life, but it's about a lot of moments built together. You know, what does your life mean? What is the impact? You know, what's the impact you've had on other people? And how do you make people feel? What things have you built or grown or created? You know, how have you done things differently? Done things your own way? How does your story connect to the ancestors of yours that came before you? All of these things factor into legacy, you know, good and bad. You know, we can see legacies tarnished and ruined. We can see legacies built and bolstered. You know, I want you to see your legacy strengthened over time. An important part of legacy is really being able to look back in context. How do you compare with people from your era? How do you compare with people in your career field? How do you compare with people from your family? There's so many different elements of legacy, multiple different touch points that factor into it, and it requires a lot of vigilance and care. This is an ongoing, everyday, consistent process of building a legacy. Building a legacy it really takes time. When I think of leaving a legacy for future generations, you know, I think about Father Ed Leahy at St. Benedict's Prep in Newark, New Jersey. Father Ed went to school, you know, before he became a monk. He went to school at St. Benedict's Prep, and you know, he came back to the school to teach following the Newark race riots in the 1960s. And in the early 1970s, a group of monks that were working at the school decided to leave. They didn't want to work in the city anymore. So the school actually shut down after 100 years of existence. And Father Ed and a group of other monks were still there, and they wanted to continue this school environment. I mean, they actually restarted the school and, you know, didn't call it exactly the same thing at first and switched that pretty quickly, you know, but they reformed the school and they brought in all these different threads of the military, of Boy Scouts, of just things that had worked in other places, you know, and turned this thing into a very successful model. You know, Father Ed has been running this school now for half a century. I mean, it's incredible to see the impact he's had on generations of children. And a lot of the children that have come to this school, you know, had difficult backgrounds, have come from all across the world. It's just so meaningful to see an impact and see legacy being forged. This is not, you know, one specific moment. It's a lot of different moments building together to create a strong, powerful legacy. You know, and now that we have seen all of the success, you know, he's being honored, you know, in national media coverage. He's being honored by local state leaders. You know, he's somebody who's really had an impact on people. And it's just awesome to see stories like that. You know, people who have an impact, people who build a legacy, and, you know, and just being able to reflect and celebrate that. So to really leave a powerful legacy for future generations, you need to do something great. You need to do something powerful, something bold, something different. You need to do something that has an impact. I think a big part of a legacy is soaking in as much knowledge as you can. You know, just trying to be this sponge that just brings in all this stuff, brings all these people together, that really grasps the moment, that you're in, the challenges that you or others are facing, and what it means to get past them. You got to learn from your ups and downs too. We all stumble, we all make mistakes, no one is perfect. I am definitely not perfect. You know, and there's things you have to learn from in life. There's things that you do or say or mistakes that you make, and you need to be able to learn from them. This is so important. And I think that factors in the legacy as well, because there's people who don't learn from their mistakes and they keep making the same mistake again and again and again. And that becomes their legacy. They were such a great person, but if only, oh, they did this thing that they never changed. They were very stubborn and stuck in their ways. If you continue to not learn from your mistakes or to take the wrong choice, that's going to be part of your legacy too, And that's the frustrating thing. It's a frustrating thing when somebody is so successful and yet they're flawed in other ways and they don't work on their flaws. They don't work on getting better. They're just focused on the one thing that they do well. In order to build a legacy, you need to be able to document your story. If no one knows all the great stuff you did, no one's going to know about it, and that's it. The story ends there. And you don't want that. And that's why you're watching this video. You're really interested in legacy. You need to document your story in some capacity. Whether that's a blog post, whether that's videos, whether that's something. Document your story. A lot of times people will sit for interviews like later in life and tell their story. And it's really meaningful when you can sit down and you can share your lessons to others. But you need to document your story. A great way to document your story is through books. I've been working as a book writer and ghostwriter for the last almost a decade now. And it's so empowering when I can help people tell their family story, tell their story, pass their legacy forward, share their lessons and ups and downs and their struggles. And, it's about being vulnerable, but it's really about documenting this thing. Not trying to pass a sugar candy-coated version of their life, but a real version, an honest version. That's where true impact happens. If you write a really kind of bland, boring book just about how great you are, no one's going to learn anything. What's the point of that? That becomes your legacy. Oh, they were a great person, but they wrote some bad books. You don't want that either. You want to empower people with the books you're telling, and you want to document these stories so they live on, so people have a chance to read them and learn from them in the future. You don't want this stuff to end with you. You want it to continue forward. I think about that with a friend of mine, Rob Malakote, who recently passed away. He pitched in the major leagues for the Houston Astros for 3 seasons in the late 1980s and early 1990s. And he struggled with injuries throughout his career. And he continued forward. He continued gritting it out, bouncing back from injuries. He ended up making the majors, which was a big honor. And, he ended up, after his career ended, becoming very successful in IT and working at companies like Microsoft for about 2 decades, across different companies in the IT field. And he got cancer and he passed away recently, which is really tough. But it was interesting for me to talk to him in, the last 3 to 6 months of his life and, learn his stories and write about him online, and being able to take all of these stories that he told me and turn them into, a message and a story that resonates. I think it's really powerful to be able to do that. And, I was really honored when, Rob reached out to me and we started talking more consistently. But we need to document our stories. Those stories need to live on because so many people can learn from them. But if we don't document those stories, that's the end of it. And it's really sad when that happens. So, as tough as it was to lose Rob, I was really proud and honored that he reached out to me, and just really meaningful to be able to carry his story forward. And I want to see you do the same. I want to see you be able to document these stories when you're of sound mind and be able to really own that and appreciate it and move forward with clarity and purpose that you can help people through your stories. If you want to learn more about how to leave a legacy for future generations, I'd love for you to schedule a call and talk to me. You can go to my website. It's goodbookhelp.com. You can click the link below and schedule a one-on-one call. I'd love to talk. I'd love to discuss legacy with you, talk about how maybe a book could be the right path for you, and just documenting your story in some capacity because it's so important. I want to make sure that your story gets captured. Remember, a good book can change your life. I'm Dan Good. Thanks for watching.